Yes, hi, hello! Welcome to Gooncast. I am James, also known as Saber0307 on Twitch, and I am once again joined by the Goons, Kat and Lee.
Hell yeah. I'm Kat, aka the Attack Cat on Twitch. QA tester by day, artist, writer, streamer by night.
What it is, Lee Alder, the Valley Jester, writer, and the video editor for some of Saber's channel.
Yeah.
And my goodness, do I love me some David Lynch.
My goodness. I'm so glad we could finally get together and talk about The Return, because it's been a while since we finished it.
Yeah, and it's been a while since we talked about the first two seasons in the movie.
But I'm very excited because I think there's a lot to chew on for this one.
Yeah,
there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't even know how the fuck we're gonna start.
Well, I'm hoping you can take the lead because I also have no idea how we're starting.
Well,
yeah, you're the ringmaster of this fuck circus.
So
this is your fault, Jam.
It is absolutely my fault. So as a brief, recap, Twin Peaks premiered in the early 90s, and after 2 seasons, it was canceled by ABC, primarily due to a low viewership that stemmed from ABC kind of fucking with stuff and the writers not knowing what to do and how to follow that up and all that fun shit. And then David Lynch made a Twin Peaks movie, and it pissed everybody off because it was a prequel that also kind of had sequel elements. And that was the last of Twin Peaks, and everybody was like, oh, well, we're never going to get Twin Peaks. And, you'd have people talk about unsatisfying endings, and, people bring up Lost or The Sopranos or whatever, and, Twin Peaks fans would be like, you shut your whore mouth, at least you got some form of fucking resolution. We just have fucking goddamn Dale Cooper asking how's Annie? And he's, clearly possessed by Bob. It's like, what the fuck is happening? And then David Lynch came out of filmmaking retirement and somehow convinced Showtime to let him make 18 episodes of Madness, and it aired in 2017. I had previously watched the first 8 or so episodes of The Return as it aired, and then, as Kat can attest to, we kind of got wrapped up in work, so I kind of let it fall by the wayside. And
well, especially since you were telling me that you got up to that fucking episode.
Yes,
which we're going to definitely talk about
that fucking episode.
And that, I think, is enough of a mindfuck for anyone to be like, okay.
Yeah, I need to watch this at a later date when I'm not exhausted from work. And then that wound up being now, because I finally conned Kat and Lee into watching the first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks and the movie, and I was like, well, we might as well go on and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, some bribes exchanged hands, but we were finally broken. And I'm glad, all things considered. It wound up being a very engaging series.
For sure.
One of those great instances where the hype did not blow it out of proportion, because, well, I don't really think it's possible to blow Twin Peaks out of proportion, because no matter what explanation you get about the series, it's probably accurate. Mm-hmm. Of like, oh, it is just as insane as everyone says, is a true statement. Yeah. And at the same time, oh, it's not as crazy as everyone says, is also somehow a true statement.
Yeah,
there's really no way you're not getting it delivered.
Yeah, he really rides that fine line of it being so, there's so many moments that are so down to earth and so just Lucy and Andy arguing about what chair to buy
it's
in
so
the
wholesome.
sweetest scene of all time, and then you have just everything happening in the Black Lodge and the White Lodge, and just oof.
And Evil Cooper and
just
David Bowie being a tea kettle.
And yes, folks, for those of you listening who haven't watched any Twin Peaks, this is all shit that happens.
Yes.
Yeah,
David Bowie is a tea kettle.
We're gonna say that this is a spoiler cast, but
It absolutely.
honestly,
It's
I'm
impossible.
kind of like, even if you are spoiled on something, the complete lack of context that we're going to provide will still make it entirely fresh when you see it.
Yeah.
Like,
There you go.
you know, when I say, "Oh yeah, the arm turned into a brain tree," you'll be like, "What? How dare you spoil that for me? You have no idea what I'm talking about." And you won't yet.
You don't. When we tell you David Bowie's a tea kettle, you're like, what? That okay? And then you get to the episode and it's like, oh, what's up? It's David Bowie, and he's a tea kettle.
No, yeah, well, this Showtime series, like, I don't know, it kind of got weirder than the original series. You mean the series where the Asian girl turned into a doorknob? I'll do this all day.
I mean, yeah. Or
well,
I miss her. I wish she came back.
Or you mean the scene where the kid magically had cream corn in his hand?
God, yes.
Cat's favorite.
Where was my cream corn?
That's
return.
True. That's true.
I demand answers.
I did read that. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but I guess apparently, if there was a season 3, part of the plan from the writers at the time was that the Bob came from a planet made of cream corn. And I'm like, all right, yeah,
Brilliant.
Sure, checks out. Why not?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely that checks out. Yeah,
I don't know how much of that is still canon because time is a flat circle, and David Lynch is David Lynch has made something that's not quite television and not quite a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird.
It's great.
That's the beauty of it, is that not only did Showtime greenlight him for 18 episodes, they greenlit him for 18-hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is 18 fucking hours of whatever David Lynch wanted to do.
David Lynch wants to
terrifying.
Yeah, David Lynch wants to spend 5 minutes on a dude.
That much power.
David Lynch wants to spend 5 minutes on a dude sweeping the floor while fucking licensed music plays. You bet your ass you're gonna get it.
See, that's the thing. That's a spoiler, and yet
people
are gonna be like, there's no way that happens. It does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could tell you someone gets a Hulk hand and beats the shit out of a rape sphere at the end. That's literally the finale.
Punches the rape sphere directly into hell.
Well, it's not quite the finale. It's because
it's the penultimate
we'll get to there.
episode, right?
Yeah.
We'll get there.
The finale is its own.
On that.
The finale is its own
it's
nonsense.
the finale, and then everything afterwards is the epilogue, right?
Kind of.
Well,
clears nothing up.
Well, one thing I wanted to hit early, because James already touched on it, is really, we're seeing what happened with Twin Peaks happen a lot with more and more series as time goes on and nostalgia grows more powerful. We're seeing a lot of series get rejuvenated, 15 plus years after their initial end date. And I did a little thinking, a little chewing on what some of these series or film franchises were, and the number that strike out and completely drop the ball is so much higher than ones that succeed. And Twin Peaks has the rare distinction of being one of those series that succeeds 25 years later.
Yeah.
The only other one I could really think of was Doctor Who had 16 years between the ending of the 8th season, I believe, and when Eccleston took over.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that show is concerned so much with different realities and shit that, it kind of works. But I mean, look at Full House. 21 years between Full House and Fuller House. What were we expecting? Star Wars. 32 years between trilogies.
Mm-hmm.
For 25 years to...
I'd say another exception would also be Fury Road, where...
Oh, that's a good one.
I think a big distinction with Twin Peaks and Fury Road, and probably Doctor Who as well, is that they are passion projects. Twin Peaks would not have happened unless David Lynch wanted it to happen.
Yeah, whereas Star Wars, I mean, the prequels certainly were passion of sorts.
Sure.
But the most modern trilogy is definitely Disney grabbing their slice of the pie, so to speak.
And Fuller
it's a
House
franchise
and
that's so beloved.
yeah, and like Fuller House and like the Boy Meets World sequel or whatever, like all that shit feels like
I forgot about that.
Like cynical, like it feels like cynical nostalgia bait, at least for me anyway.
I think they were also trying to make a Lizzie McGuire sequel.
I think so, yeah.
And specifically, I think the actress like turned it down, or like I remember reading because they wanted to make it, like her in her 30s as like a fashion designer or something like that, but they wanted it to be completely like sanitized and sexless, and like, what, Hilary Duff?
Yeah, Hilary Duff.
Mm-hmm. Hilary Duff herself was like, no.
Yeah.
She's 30. What on earth are you thinking? Like, she can't be Barbie. Like.
Yeah, I mean, like it doesn't have to be live action Powerpuff Girls. But...
You beat me to it. You beat me to it.
But,
I was just about to say.
Oh my god!
But like it still should be matured.
If we could get a copy of that script, that would be a super fun, like Corpse Party-esque.
Oh my
all of us
god.
reading. Like,
each of us will be one of the girls.
It'll be super fun until I get sued.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But
actually, I don't know.
We could do it for the Discord. Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah.
There are YouTubers who've done it, and I'm not sure if they've gotten it like taken down yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Who knows?
But yeah, I think passion is the big distinction.
Yes, for sure. And I think Lynch too is just such a, he like defies convention while simultaneously adhering to it in many ways.
Yeah.
So like he's making a TV show, but doing it through the lens of all of his all of his film experience, all of his movie and his bizarre short films that are obviously also hugely inspirational and weird and out there. I was like, as we were watching that fucking episode, I was getting a lot of vibes from a lot of stuff I used to watch, because I used to, like I majored in animation in college, and a lot of what we would watch would be very weird experimental animations from like the 70s, 60s, especially in Eastern Europe. They were doing some really wild things with stop motion, and I was getting pretty heavy vibes of that from Lynch, and that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, yeah, because you're trying to say something, and you're not necessarily spelling out what you're saying for the audience. You're just kind of trusting that they will. Part of it is I almost hesitate to like talk super in depth about like the meaning behind everything in Twin Peaks, because it's really more about the experience for me.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
It's like as Jay was mentioning, like that 4-hour video of Twin Peaks explained or whatever. It's like fuck all that. I don't want it explained. I mean, I do and I don't. Like, I don't want somebody, like, trying to pick apart, like, the symbolism and be like, this is my theory, but I'm stating it as fact. It's like...
Yes.
It's...
I'm super interested in hearing, like, what you guys, like, what your interpretations are. Like, obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about our interpretations of various things or about theories that are out there. But, yeah, pinning them down as fact when you're not Mark Frost or David Lynch...
Yeah,
I kind of think that defeats the point a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think Twin Peaks is supposed to leave you with answers to the questions.
Yeah.
I think that's evidenced by the finale too.
It's very much about the road trip. It's about the journey that it takes to get to its destination. I mean, Twin Peaks at its heart, yes, it has this murder mystery as a backdrop plot in the original run, and it has the mission to stop the Black Lodge and Evil Cooper in the return. But Twin Peaks is all about its characters. It's just a character analysis. You know, the plot keeps everything moving, but it's about the situations that these characters are getting into, the way they handle them, the way they interact with each other. That's what Twin Peaks is about. And that's one of the things that I had to get over when we finished The Return, and I felt dissatisfied with the ending. I shouldn't say dissatisfied. I should say frustrated. Because it was in its own macabre way satisfying.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that the sort of in a way similar to Breaking Bad, I feel like the penultimate episode felt to me like that was the bow on the Returns story.
Yeah.
Right? And then everything that fell off after that was it was like more. And I really want to talk about the ending because I feel like all of us have some really good insights or thoughts or vibes from it, but like I have no answers.
Yeah, no, I have no answers. It's like I can tell you what my reaction was to the ending, and I'm pretty sure that we all had the same reaction, which was that fucker Lynch did it again. You can't keep getting away with it. But I'm glad he did it again and got away with it.
Well, in any other series, the penultimate episode is how it would have ended.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other
100%.
series, that would have been it. But then Lynch being Lynch, the sadistic fuck he is, he loves to keep us guessing. He loves to challenge the creativity of the audience. He likes to challenge us to think, to think in ways that other television doesn't really condition you to think.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he loves that shit. He loves winding us up, and he loves Laura Dern. Those are the two things in life that Lynch really fucking digs.
Yes.
And coffee and cigarettes.
Yeah. I still am standing by that Diane is the name of the tape recorder. I know there is a Diane now for real that is Laura Dern, but
and
my
y'all were
headcanon is my headcanon.
y'all were so happy that it was Laura Dern.
Oh yes,
it couldn't have been anyone else.
She's brilliant.
Yeah.
But
if anyone else walked on screen and said, "Oh," and someone says to them, "Oh, Diane, you're here," and it's not Laura Dern, my first thought wouldn't be, "Oh my God, how did they not cast Laura Dern?" My thought would be, "That's not Diane."
Sure.
I would think immediately it was a plot point of like, no, because Diane has to be Laura Dern.
Yeah, it's especially just given Lynch and Laura Dern's history and everything like that. I think the only other actress who I could see, just from Lynch's back catalog, would have been maybe Naomi Watts, even though they don't have quite as long as a history as with Laura Dern. But we also got Naomi Watts anyway as Diane's sister.
Oh yeah, I forgot that they were related.
Yeah.
You mean Jane E?
Yeah,
president and co-founder of the Girl, There's Something Wrong with Your Man, Don't Just Be Horny About It club?
Well, she did
precisely.
She only got horny later. She was so sick of his shit throughout most of that goddamn season.
Look, I'm starting this club, so there are 2 members so far, and I'm gonna keep adding to it.
Who's the other member?
We'll talk about it later.
Oh,
okay.
You know already.
I don't remember.
But I'm gonna leave it as a tease for the audience.
Oh my God.
Well, like David Lynch, you won't get all of the answers.
Oh shit.
Well, why don't we do this? Because I know that some of the people listening might just be fans of the streams and maybe not fans of Twin Peaks. And also, I just really want to hear James do it. And so, James, for the viewers out there, please explain what Dougie is and why Dougie is important to this story.
All right.
Dougie Jones.
All right. So we have to go back a little bit. So at the end of Twin Peaks Season 2, as Cooper is trying to escape the Black Lodge after saving Annie and confronting Wyndham Earle, Cooper is chased by a doppelganger of Cooper, Evil Cooper. We will just because the show calls him it, we'll just call him Mr. C. And the last shot of the Black Lodge in the finale of season 2 is Mr. C grabbing Cooper. The screen fades to white. Next time we see Cooper, he's outside the Black Lodge with Annie. He seems a little fucked up, but we don't necessarily think too much of it immediately because it's the Black Lodge, man. It's a weird, wild, wacky place. And then in the last minute or two of the of the episode, we realize that Mr. C, along with Bob, are the ones who escaped the Black Lodge, and that Cooper is still trapped in the Black Lodge. Now, Mr. C, apparently due to the weird and wild rules of the Black Lodge, is going to be sucked back in there in 25 years. And Cooper will come back out, and Mr. C will get sucked back in, and Mr. C doesn't want that because he wants to continue being a right prick and doing shady, evil, heinously violent and vile fucking things. So he creates a tulpa, which is, I guess, like another type of doppelganger or artificial person or whatever, of himself / Cooper, and that is Dougie Jones.
Drum roll, please.
So the idea is that when the Black Lodge comes to try to take Mr. C and swap him with Cooper, it will instead take Dougie Jones and swap Dougie Jones with Cooper, leaving Cooper with some weird, fucked up memory shenanigans where he's basically, his brain is just fried completely. And that happens, and we're spent with Cooper basically, are the glorious return of best boy Special Agent Dale Cooper. And for the first 16 episodes of 18 episodes, Cooper's mind is completely fried. And he's really only able to say his name, like a Pokemon or some shit. And
he's able to repeat simple words.
Words, yeah.
Yeah.
And all the while, Mr. C is sending various assassins to try to kill Cooper, because he knows that if Cooper regains his senses and shit, Cooper will be able to foil his plan. But the shenanigans of the White Lodge or Black Lodge or something are helping out helping out Cooper, and Cooper, despite being basically a potato, is still a massive force of good and a positive impact in basically everybody's lives around him. And it's simultaneously infuriating, at least on your first viewing. For me, I know it was infuriating for Kat and Lee. For me, I've had 4 years to come to terms with the fact that it was going to be a while before we got Cooper back. So I've grown to like Dougie, but it's also heartwarming, I think, especially with some of the scenes that we see later on where we find out that, like, the old lady, like in the first time we see Cooper as Dougie, winning all that goddamn money. And there's this clearly homeless lady gambling at the slot machines, and he points to a couple and she uses them and she wins money, and we get a later scene of her wearing fancy clothes at a restaurant. She bumps into Cooper and is like, "Oh, hey, you helped me. You helped me get out of my financial spot, and this is my son, and I owe you, like I've been able to turn my life around."
Because she was no longer homeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super wholesome and sweet. And meanwhile, Tom Sizemore is like a piece of shit, as he is in most movies or television shows. And just the sheer innocence of Cooper gets him to basically repent and confess that he's been fucking over the company that he's been working at.
And also to add to that, Dougie Jones pre Black Lodge Cooper.
Oh, he's a piece of shit.
Asshole.
Yeah, he's an asshole cheating on Naomi Watts. Why would you do that?
A total dick. Oh, and also you forgot to mention that Cooper came back into the world via an electrical outlet.
Yeah. Because electricity is a big thing in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Or like we have these two clear fucking mobster characters played by Jim Belushi.
Jim Belushi and Robert Knepper from Prison Break.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
And
actually, that's one of the another cool thing about this series is just the sheer amount of like famous actors who were like, sign me up for that David Lynch
get me
project.
In on that Twin Peaks shit.
Yeah. and like I'm not the biggest Jim Belushi fan because he's mostly in kind of garbage, but he was so good in this.
Yeah.
And
he and Rob Knepper had really good chemistry.
They really did, and they're clearly like vicious mobster types who then through the kindness and wholesomeness of Dougie Jones kind of become better people.
Yeah, they really do. They're like helping him out at the end.
They're bending, not just helping him out, bending over backwards, dropping everything that they're doing to help out Dougie.
Across the country. Oh.
And not just fly him across the country, but go with him to some random Twin Peaks Sheriff's Department. It's so silly and Lynchian and wholesome, and I love it. It's God damn.
That's just the entire structure of it, like to someone who hasn't watched it, must sound completely alien. I mean,
that's just the A plot.
You bring back a 25-year-old series with the original cast as their original characters, theoretically. And your protagonist from the first series is essentially reduced to being a completely new character who has limited to no mental capabilities.
Two characters.
And that's I think that was part of the frustration was that we all loved Cooper in the original series because he was so smart and so kind of like unconventional in his methods that it was, you were just kind of like waiting for that to snap back to him. Yep. And it took 16 episodes.
Because Lynch is going to Lynch.
Yeah.
The effects of Cooper were the same because Cooper as a character in the first series enriched everyone's lives around him. Unless you were a criminal, in which case he was the long dick of the law. Mm-hmm. And that carried over into his Dougie incarnation, but without him really trying to.
Yeah.
He still just kind of meandered through day-to-day life.
It was just like his
aura.
Exactly. His being was enough to kind of have a really positive impact, which is, why you see like Janie and the mobsters and all the people around him, kind of doing better. And it's something that's like, it's very weird, and it would be very weird for, the wife to have her husband suddenly be a totally different person. But this is a Lynch project. So it's not even treated as weird. Like she just rolls with it completely.
I mean, she kind of mentions it, and it is brought up. People do notice that he is,
but not to the extent that you would expect.
Yeah, it's not the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's not a body swap movie, so that's not the like point of it. But it's just like there's clearly something off with him, and she mostly doesn't notice.
It really feels as though she's just like, I'm so sick of your shit. You keep doing this sort of shit. And I kind of love Naomi Watts' character for that, because she's so over Dougie's shit. Mm-hmm. And like, I love that scene where she's confronting the loan sharks, and they're like, oh, your husband borrowed this amount of money. You owe us now this amount of money. And she just bullies them into like, no,
mercilessly.
I'm not giving you that, and like they try to like take her money from her. It's like, well, you know, where do you get off? How rude! And the mobsters or the loan sharks are just like, nobody's ever done this to us before. I guess we'll just roll with it. God, I love so many characters in this new run.
Yeah. And I think the start of the show is very strong in my opinion, because I think there's like active callbacks or call outs rather to shows that have subsequently been influenced by Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Like those first couple episodes where it's the murder mystery with Shaggy.
Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard, thank you. with Matthew Lillard and the librarian who has had her head transposed onto the body of General Briggs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Major Briggs.
And he hasn't aged at all since we last. Like he's dead, obviously, but he hasn't aged at all since he was killed in the forest by
Evil Coop
light
or whatever.
Yeah, and that initial murder mystery bit was so reminiscent of, you know, murder mystery shows of today, like The Killing and things of that ilk that have subsequently been influenced by Twin Peaks, very obviously.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool that like Lynch kind of acknowledged, like a little tip to the hat of like, I see you guys appreciating my work.
Yeah.
I appreciate you right back.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, just the cast is so strong. Like,
oh my god, yeah, let's dig into that.
Like Matthew Lillard is great. Jim Belushi, Michael Cera
shows up for an episode
doing the weirdest shit of just impersonating Marlon Brando for a whole scene.
Weird.
As Robert Forster's deadpan.
Yeah, he is playing Lucy and Andy's son, which is just adorable casting. And I was like mildly disappointed because I was kind of hoping for more of them interacting in the scene that we got with them.
Yeah.
But it was mostly Robert Forster just being like, please leave, you weird child.
and of course, as we just mentioned too, Robert Forster's new to Twin Peaks, and he's just wonderful as always.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yes, he's taken over as the sheriff because one of the few cast members who didn't come back was the original sheriff of Twin Peaks. James, do you remember his name by chance?
Michael Otenkin, I believe is the actor's name. As far as I'm aware, the rumor mill, like nobody's entirely sure, but the rumor mill is that Michael Otenkin, Harry Truman's actor, is not doing too well health-wise, and that like he kind of turned down the role because of that, and that's why Lynch incorporated like the fact that Harry is sick.
Yeah,
right.
Which to speak then on returning cast, like that's totally understandable to not want to continue for your health, and like, you know, like props to him and stuff that you know, and hopefully he is doing okay kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
and then on that note,
on the other side we have the Log Lady returning, and giving one of the most emotional, or like all of her scenes are incredibly emotional, because she talks about, you know, death being a step in the journey and stuff like that, and she's literally having these lines of dialogue 2 or 3 days before her own actual death.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, and it speaks volumes of her love of Lynch and working with Lynch. The fact that she was willing to come back in the state that she was in and deliver lines like that. Like it's super impressive and heart-wrenching and sad, and god damn, it's
I feel like a lot of people throw the word brave around in headlines these days as like an attention grabber, but that was an incredibly brave performance.
Yeah.
Yes.
To know that you're dying and to know that your character is going to own that in the same way that you are, and to have dialogue specifically telling another character, Hawk, I'm dying.
Yeah.
To know that it's the last things you're going to say on camera.
Yeah.
It's fucking haunting.
Yeah. It's beautiful and it's haunting and I don't think we would really get that from a lot of other directors.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And actors.
And also one of the that is obviously a really strong emotional point of the show, that this sort of real life thing. But then, on the other side, there are so many actors who did not return because they could not.
Yeah.
And many of the episodes are dedicated to their memories.
Yeah, and a lot of...
It's always heartbreaking to see those names come up at the end of the... of the list. Cause
a lot of the cast that passed away in those, in those 25 years. I mean,
and some of them even...
Jack Nance, David Bowie.
Some of them even died shortly after production wrapped or during production, like Miguel Ferrer.
Yes.
Warren Frost, I believe is his name, the guy who plays Doc Haywood. He's Mark Frost's dad, and he died shortly after they filmed. That's why his whole scene is a Skype scene. Harry Dean Stanton died, I think a week after the finale. Peggy Lipton, who plays Norma, she died a year or two after the finale aired. That's kind of the thing with age, but it's just also so heart-wrenching just seeing I think it's every episode is dedicated to somebody who passed away.
I think so. I think I don't remember anyone that didn't have one, but I don't want to say every single one had one, but yeah, I mean that is the nature of you have a show 25 years later, and most of your cast is not 20 something actors playing teens or whatever, then you're unfortunately lose some people.
And Lynch was still able to incorporate them in very respectful or Lynchian ways. It's not like fucking Star Wars Rogue One where we have CGI Peter Cushing face. We get
Mayor Reeves plays a huge role
in the plot.
Archive footage.
Yeah, it's almost like they used Adobe After Effects to separate his head from his body so it floats through space.
Yep.
And then David Bowie, he didn't come back because he knew he was dying, and he gave Lynch permission to use the character, and he said, basically,
he said, make me into a tea kettle, darling.
His only stipulation was, I guess he's not the biggest fan of his accent in Fire Walk with Me. He thinks he kind of delivered a bad job, so he said, "I want an authentic Louisiana actor to play me." So Lynch did that. So David Bowie's a tea kettle.
That's really sweet, though. That I think he did a great job, but everyone's their own worst critic, right?
Yeah. It's.
We can talk more about some of the other returning folks.
Yeah.
I think they're all still absolutely brilliant.
And
Laura Palmer is still one of the best screamers I've ever seen on screen.
Quick,
without a doubt.
Quick aside before we do that, though.
Oh,
I just want to say, especially in regards to how we didn't really get any resolution in the finale, the fact that Pete got to go fishing is enough. It's enough of a resolution for me.
Oh my god, damn it, James!
I love Pete, man. Pete was my favorite character.
We definitely have to talk more about the finale.
But yeah, Cheryl Lee is the actress, and she's a phenomenal scream queen and a phenomenal actress who's just Jesus Christ.
I'm actually genuinely surprised that I haven't seen her in more horror movies. And I mean that's totally her own prerogative what project she decides to take on.
Yeah.
But damn, she would be great.
I think the only thing I've seen her in outside of Twin Peaks is John Carpenter's Vampires.
I want like a Cheryl Lee, Barbara Crampton.
Oh, that'd be great.
Like buddy cop movie.
Yeah. There you go.
That'd be wonderful.
Dream team.
Cheryl showed her chops, her range, like without restraint in Firewalk with Me.
Yeah, she did.
And now having her come back for the tail end of the return, man, nothing's changed. She's still a powerhouse.
Yeah,
a superbly underrated actress.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Miguel Ferrer.
That's also a word that gets thrown around, underrated. Like Brave, it gets thrown around a lot. 100% fitting for her though.
Yeah,
like 100%.
I'd also say like Miguel Ferrer is like as one of the anchors of the show, fucking Albert Rosenfeld and David Lynch's Gordon Cole and their weird buddy cop adventures, and it's and he's just still so fucking deadpan and such a goddamn dick. But he's wonderful. He's wonderful at it.
I mean, the crew of the sheriff's station has to be mentioned.
Yes.
Andy, Lucy, fucking main man Hawk.
Bobby fucking Briggs.
Yeah, Andy and Lucy. Like, I mean, all three of them really. But I was surprised that like Andy actually played a really big role.
Yeah.
You know, he pulled. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna completely forget who she turned into, but the eyeless Asian lady in the lodge,
yes,
who then got pulled out of the lodge and turned into who?
Real Diane.
That's right.
Yeah, it was actual Diane.
Thank you. Yeah, and that was first of all insanely wild, and second of all, like Andy went into the Black Lodge and like was like came out okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if my money was going to go on anyone in that department going into the Black Lodge, it would have been Hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To use the power of his ancient ancestors to open up a can of whoop ass on the powers of darkness.
Yeah.
But no, we got Andy bringing his strong husband energy.
Yeah.
Yes, no.
His dad energy.
Strong himbo energy.
Yeah.
Strong himbo energy.
Nothing can stop the dad bod with strong himbo energy.
The power of himbo can defeat the Black Lodge.
Yes, that is the true message of Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, are we gonna talk about like the zombies?
Oh boy, are we gonna talk about the zombies?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the lumberjack zombies.
Oh my god. Yeah, and like the sick. Oh well, first before we move on though, of the returning cast, we also have Bobby coming back
with a redemption arc.
Dick,
yeah, with a redemption arc.
I was like, hello, completely unexpected.
Yeah, and he's genuine. At least for me, he's genuinely likable, and it's like
he's like one of the best parts of the show, and
Absolutely.
He was one of the worst parts of the original show.
Yeah, and the entire time you're just like, but Bobby killed a guy. But it's
yes,
like
the entire time I was like, should he? I mean, I guess he's a small town cop, so you know.
Yeah.
How redeemed, but like, holy shit! Like he was actually like kind of, and like the scene where he sees Laura's picture again.
Yeah.
Through the evidence.
Powerful.
He nailed that.
He nailed it. Yeah.
It's such an easy scene to fuck up.
Yes.
Like
yes.
walk into a room
and blubber.
See a picture of somebody dead that you care about, and then just cry on the spot. Go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And absolutely owns it.
Yeah. And his daughter is now Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah. She was alright.
Yeah.
She was fine.
I mean, she wasn't in too much of it, so
yeah.
I give her
I give
her credit where it's due.
And
but
she's married to that weird looking guy from Get Out.
Yeah, yes. I was like, I don't see him in enough stuff, like antiviral and stuff too, but he's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you, but he was QA did like a fan cast of like who we would want to see in the next God of War, and like we decided to fan cast him as Baldur's son in Norse mythology, just because he has very similar vibes to Jeremy Davies.
Yeah,
I feel like. So I was like, he actually could work.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's a good actor, and he did well. And oh god, the kid playing Audrey's The guy playing Audrey's son?
Yeah, he's such a piece of shit.
I forget what his name is, though, but...
We opened Pandora's box. We gotta talk about Audrey.
I'm not...
Shit.
Lee, I'm so sleepy. I'm not ready to talk about...
Tired.
I'm not ready to talk about Audrey. I gotta get my coat.
James.
I gotta get my coat. I'm so sleepy.
James, I know. But my coat's already on, and I'm about to take it off and write you out of the story. So, let's talk about fucking Audrey. Audrey Horne is one of the major players in the original series Twin Peaks. And apparently behind the scenes, Audrey and Mr. Lynch don't get along very well. There's differing reports on the severity of it. But there were some complications during the writing of The Return and the negotiations that followed, where initially Audrey was going to be almost entirely written out of the story. Audrey was going to be established as a hairdresser.
Oh. I was going to say there's a very easy solution, which is that she exploded in the Twin Peaks finale.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, they didn't even want to go with that. They went the extra step and wrote that she's basically there and then just gets abused for the small amount she's in the series. They establish her as a hairdresser. They establish that Mr. C rapes her. And then in the original script, the scene where her son shows up and beats up the grandmother to get money, it was going to be Audrey who gets beaten.
Oh, jeez.
And that was going to be
hate that.
and that was going to be Audrey getting written out of the story. And she and Mr. Lynch went out to lunch and had a chat.
Good for
them. I feel bad for not remembering her name because she's a wonderful actress.
Sherilyn Fenn?
Yeah.
Sherilyn Fenn, thank you.
And a Wish Upon alum.
And a Wish Upon alum. Wink, wink, future podcast. And she and Mr. Lynch sat down and had some lunch, and she said, this is bullshit. And Lynch is like, all right, I will fix it. And boy, did he fix it.
Good for both of them.
Yeah.
I will say that Audrey's story does feel very removed from most of the rest of the plot lines.
That's an understatement.
But, oh man, is it not any less juicy for it?
It's so fucking strange and wonderful, and
it's so Lynchian.
And I was just screaming at the television the entire time. Just, what is happening? Who are these people they're talking about?
Yeah.
Do we ever find out? No.
They basically drop us into a stage play of Audrey and her husband arguing, and then that's all the scenes. All the scenes are this just very simple office, and it almost feels fake. And then you get these lines that Lee so eloquently referenced, where it's I'm gonna write you out of the story, Audrey, and then her just freezing and panicking, and we're like, what is going on?
The fuck
is
happening?
Of this mean?
I'm so sleepy. I gotta get my coat.
Oh, tired.
and then the end of it is a smash cut to Audrey looking completely disheveled in a white room that is sort of implied to be a mental hospital or something.
Yeah, some kind of asylum.
Yeah, and
she's under some sort of medical observation.
yeah, and I think we were talking about it a little bit, and I think one of you mentioned that you thought that might have been the actress herself.
I know Red Letter Media thought that. I don't know if I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was one of Jay's theories.
Okay. I mean, that would be super cool, and also ties into because we definitely thought that about the finale.
Yeah.
That was definitely a thing that we brought up, that I'm not confusing with something I watched.
Yeah, we were the finale was just fucking Jesus Christ.
The finale is insane.
Yeah. And the way it reincorporates footage from Fire Walk with Me and doesn't do digital de-aging on Cheryl Lee.
Yes.
Well, that deserves mentioning in itself, because those of you listening, this series ends in such a way that past and present are kind of brought together into a singular moment. And when the events started happening during our viewing, the only way I could properly phrase it was, oh, of course Twin Peaks ends in time travel.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean it like as a backhanded thing. This show got so off the rails and out of its fucking mind that it ending on time travel actually made perfect sense.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It was, because a lot of times that's kind of like a bit of an ass pull for some shows where it's like, oh, we're gonna, but this just felt so yeah, for context, the end of the like finale is Cooper kind of like ending up back in time. He's the thing that Laura was screaming at in the woods in Fire Walk with Me.
Mm-hmm.
That like she like at one point in Fire Walk with Me, the movie from, you know, years and years ago, she screams randomly like in fear in the woods, and Bobby's like, what the fuck? And she's just like, oh, it was nothing. And it's because Cooper showed up and she saw him and screamed. I like that was an answer I never thought I'd get.
I like how you hate James so much you called him Bobby.
Oh my god, was it James?
It was James.
Listen, we haven't brought up James at all so far.
Let's keep it that way.
I was going to keep it that way.
We will not cheat on him any further.
I was like, I briefly mentioned the Hulk glove, which is very tangentially related to James, and that was going to be it. That was going to be my one.
Yeah, let's keep it that way.
By the way, fuck James.
Look, at least we didn't get Donna. All right.
That's true. That's true. We could have gotten the Scooby Gang back together.
Yeah, and I'll take.
Oh no! Except we did totally get.
We skipped it though.
A cover of we skipped it, but it's in there.
Yeah,
we know it's there, James.
I mean, I think James was handled better in the return than he was in the original run, but I still hate him because of how bad the original run is.
Yeah, I'm like I can agree with that, but also I just don't want James handled at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I feel that. But yeah, Cooper goes back in time and prevents Laura Palmer's murder.
Yep. And then Pete gets to go fishing. And then we cut to the 25-year mark, and Cooper finds who we assume is Laura.
All right, let's
living.
Well, let's talk about that because it's like a lot of the shit that is mentioned in the first episode by the giant to Cooper comes into fucking play at the goddamn end of the series, which is wild.
Yes.
And basically,
they planned all of this. They know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Lost where they're like, oh, we totally knew how the story was going to end, and then they definitely didn't.
Yeah, and it's
they knew.
It's like Cooper has to drive. I forgot the number, but like an X amount of hours. Yeah, something like that.
430 miles, I think.
430 miles. And that somehow transports him and Diane to another reality. And then they have the most uncomfortable sex scene ever. And Jay was theorizing that it was a way to lure out Judy. Jay from Red Letter Media.
Oh, yeah. Because they were talking about how she was a death god or something?
Something like that.
The research I did points to Judy being, like an ancient death goddess.
That was Lee talking about her being a death goddess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting the wires crossed a little bit. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, it's an ancient Sumerian myth from like 3000 BC or something. Yeah, and Judy is supposed to be some kind of just all-powerful demon. I believe the spouse of Baal, who is one of the 7 demon princes of hell.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of weird mythology there you can really sink your teeth into, but essentially it's this show's form of the devil.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they...
Which also, like... Somebody just tuning in and hearing this stuff and then being like, yep, that's Twin Peaks. No context.
No.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is like spoilers. No context.
No context. So yeah, they have the most uncomfortable sex scene ever, and then Diane disappears.
Yes.
And then Cooper somehow tracks down alternate universe Laura Palmer. I think her name is Carrie Page.
Yeah, something like that.
And
he manages to convince her to come with him. They drive to Laura Palmer's house, which is occupied by the real life occupant of that house.
Yeah.
In reality.
Yeah.
Yes, like the actual human woman who owns the house in real life. And then Laura starts screaming, and that's how the show ends.
Yeah. And that
or not Laura, I guess.
And
Carrie starts screaming.
That fucker got away with it again.
And yeah, we had I believe theorized that because, and James was the one who gave us the tidbit of that's the actual owner of the house. We had theorized that they had been transported into the real world.
Yes.
This was now reality.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, things were so different, and that's why it ended in that way.
I think there's a lot of ways you can take this fucking ending, and
yes,
no matter how off the rails you might go with your theories, they're all possible.
Yeah, like
exactly.
anything we're saying is not definitive. It's just
for sure
our interpretation of the unhinged insanity that is David Lynch.
This is us like getting information from various sources and being like, I wonder if that's what it meant. Oh my god, but we have no idea.
Yeah.
And we still don't. You know, we've been digesting this for a month and I'm still like, wow, man, I have like whew.
Yeah,
I just don't even have words.
I don't either, which is why I'm just gonna say as well, on top of Pete getting to go fishing, we had Big Ed and Norma get together, and that was also super wholesome, and I'm very happy with that. Lucy figured out how cell phones work. I don't want it to even explain that.
She shot a gun. She shot a guy.
She shot a guy.
Yeah. She was a badass.
Lucy was a badass.
As if we didn't know that already.
Yeah.
It might have been about the bunny.
Might have been about the bunny.
It's not about the bunny.
Balthazar Getty was a fucking unhinged lunatic, and I loved it. With the fucking coin magic trick. And, like, talking about, like, cannibalizing Audrey's son's brains.
Wait, guys, we didn't talk about the zombies.
Right, all right, well, we've been avoiding the zombies because talking about the zombies, or the hobo zombies, basically revolves in us to talking about that fucking episode.
Oh my god, yes. Please, let's just...
So, should we just start talking about that episode?
Yes.
All right.
We need to talk about that fucking episode.
So James, what is that fucking episode?
Give me a second here.
Are you looking at your notes?
Give me a
I have
second.
no
Let me do
notes.
some angel dust.
I have
quick.
no notes. I just need to stroke my puppy in good luck and have some water.
Okay.
Because
mentally prepare yourself.
Hydrate.
Yeah. So this is episode 8, and it starts out with Evil Cooper escaping from prison with some thug that he was working with who Evil Cooper wants to kill because they were trying to kill him. And they pull over to the side of the road, and the thug shoots Evil Cooper. And then a bunch of hobo zombies show up. And we'd already seen them a little bit earlier on in the series, in like a couple scenes. And they basically all kind of start fading in and out and dancing around Evil Cooper's body and playing with his blood and rubbing it on Evil Cooper's face. And then they pull out a sphere that has Bob's face on it. And then they put it back in, and Evil Cooper comes back to life. And then we get a sick performance by the Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, that's right.
The actual Nine Inch Nails.
The actual Nine Inch Nails.
We kind of forgot to mention that like every single episode has a musical guest and like a basically like a mini performance at the end.
Yeah. And
80% of it's hipster trash.
Yeah.
But then you get Nine Inch Nails.
And you get Nine Inch Nails.
Top.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it's they're usually all the musical acts are normally at the end. This is like 15 minutes into the episode. And then cut to fucking atomic bomb testing in like the New Mexican desert in like 1940s. And we get David Lynch channeling Stanley Kubrick as we fly through a fucking goddamn mushroom cloud explosion. Then we cut to what we think is the White Lodge with the giant and this other lady, and then the giant basically planks and yeets himself into the air, and a gold orb with Laura Palmer's face shows up.
Oh, we forgot to say that the gold orbs are like what makes tulpas.
Yes, they make tulpas, but I don't think that these are the same gold tulpa orbs. I don't know.
That's fair. It's another kind of gold orb.
Yeah,
gold orbs are important through the whole series.
Yeah.
So continue.
And then the lady kisses the Laura Palmer orb, if I remember correctly, and it flies to Earth and lands, I guess, in the New Mexican desert. Flash forward to like, I don't know, 10 years later, so we're now like 1950s New Mexico, and a frog bug comes out of the sand. This is all in black and white.
That? What is it?
A frog bug.
A frog bug.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a bug.
You said that like very normal, like casual, like frog bugs are just in every form of media.
Yeah, they are.
So I just wanted to make sure the audience knew that, you know,
it's a frog bug.
You were mentioning this very, very common thing. That's totally normal.
It's totally normal. It's not weird at all, and it's not strange. It's the top of a bug attached to the hind legs of a frog or something. And this whole sequence is in black and white outside of the atomic bomb shit, where we get gorgeous color. Oh, and also the gold orb is in color as well. Then the soot covered hobo zombies show up and harangue a lady on the side of the road, and it feels very Night of Living, a couple on the side of the road, and it feels very Night of the Living Dead, where we have Abe Lincoln hobo zombie asking for a light for his cigarette.
Who is actually like an Abe Lincoln impersonator?
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, according to his IMDb thing, because we were joking that he looked like Abe Lincoln, and according to his IMDb thing, yeah, that's what he specializes in, is playing Abe Lincoln in all sorts of different productions, because he looks like Abe Lincoln. And also during this new sequence, we see like a 10-year-old girl who may or may not be young Sarah Palmer. We haven't even fucking talked about Sarah Palmer. God damn it! Young Sarah Palmer going out on a date. It might be young Sarah Palmer. We don't know. Anyways, Abe Lincoln hobo zombie makes his way to a radio station and violently fucks up a lady's head. And then violently...
Yeah, he just like squeezes it to death one-handed, right?
Yeah. And then violently fucks up another dude's head, the disc jockey's head, and then goes off on this speech about like, this is the water and this is the well. And then everybody in the town goes to sleep. And then the frog bug climbs into maybe Sarah Palmer's mouth. And then the hobo zombie goes away. And that's the end of the episode.
I could listen to James try to explain Lynch all day. I fucking love it. I did what I can.
I want an extremely monotone recap of like every episode. That's a podcast in of itself.
There you go.
Just James desperately being like, so then there's this.
It's like, make no mistake, listeners. All right, Twin Peaks is fucking weird, right? The first couple seasons are weird. the not quite as weird as maybe what everybody was saying until like the end. But still that weird and quirky. And Fire Walk with Me is pretty fucking weird. And then we're getting some weird shit in the return. Like, we're starting weird. Like, two people banging while watching an empty cube, and then spooky ghost thing shows up and saws off their faces or whatever. And it's weird. Sure. It's Lynchian. Sure. But we get this entire prologue, maybe quasi-explanation as to why Bob and Laura exist in the world. And it's this beautiful, unhinged madness that is just so fucking stunning to look at, but the entire time you're just like, what?
It is absolutely surreal.
Yeah.
I loved every second of it.
You can tell. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's apparently also an episode, the only episode that was like also distributed in theaters.
Yes.
And like played in theaters.
Yes.
That's 100%. If I could have seen that in theaters, I would have.
Yeah, and like it when you see the episode, you'll understand why. Like, I was telling Lee and Kat that at the start of the series, there were some complaints, and also like we saw in they brought it up in the review for Red Letter Media. There were some complaints about the CGI not being all that great, but it was fine. It's fine and serviceable. And then you get to that episode, and it's just like that entire atomic bomb sequence, man, is just
dude
fucking
where the budget went.
Beautiful. And just it's 2001: A Space Odyssey, just through the eyes of David Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wild.
You can tell that entire episode, and especially that extended sequence with the nuclear explosion, is what Lynch has been wanting to do.
Yeah.
That was his vision of, I'm finally off the chain.
Yeah.
I can do what I've wanted to do, and that fucking episode was it.
And it's wonderful, and it provides answers that you didn't necessarily know. It actually
provides answers.
Answers that you didn't necessarily know that you wanted, and then also produces a metric fuck ton of new questions that never get answered because fuck you.
Twin Peaks is a series that, famously, as we've said, doesn't give answers to questions and doesn't, like to resolve things.
Yeah.
By design. Yeah. But holy fuck, that episode actually explained some stuff. It's like, no, Laura Palmer is here as a force of good to fight the Black Lodge.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then later on, Sarah Palmer tears off her face and kills an asshole at a bar.
It becomes a hideous void monster.
And kills some asshole at a bar after spending time watching footage of lions murder animals, but it's like a 10-second clip on loop.
Oh yeah.
And then also a boxing match.
Like a YouTube poop of like lions murdering.
And then also like a boxing match, but it's not a boxing match. It's like the same 10-15 seconds of a boxing match on loop while just chain smoking and drinking Bloody Marys.
Lynch is so fucking wild, man.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's God damn it, man. That's
that fucking episode.
Yeah, that was him just totally left to his own devices and left to explore his style. Like there's a clip of Lynch that's famously gone around the Twin Peaks fandom where he's complaining to someone that he's working with during the filming of The Return about how he wanted more time to explore certain things. He was getting very frustrated with deadlines and needing to finish these things by a certain time. And he goes on this great tirade about like that episode in particular, how he wanted even more time to explore ideas in the White Lodge. He's just like yelling, like, I could have played around with the firemen for a fucking week. Like he was still bursting with ideas that he was just willing to experiment with.
Yeah.
That man was just like unfiltered David Lynch in that episode. It was great.
I think that same clip that you're talking about also has the famous line, "Who fucking cares how long a scene is?"
Yeah, who fucking cares how long a scene is?
I was going to say that's the one I remember always, and that's it's great.
And it's delightful, and it's unhinged Lynch madness that people frequently try to emulate, but very few people can even come close to copying or accurately. There's usually something lost in translation, just because Lynch is, love him or hate him, he's in his own fucking league when it comes to ideas of just insanity. Like, God damn, like, I love him, but I also understand why people hate his shit.
Yes. I can fully appreciate people who are more, expect more, well, no, because I don't want to say expect more structure, because his stuff is very structured. He is He is still operating under typical narrative conventions.
It's not just raw chaos.
Yeah, exactly. He is, if anything, a master filmmaker.
Yeah.
Like, he understands how to frame a shot, how to, tell a story in sequence like that.
He is king at audio design.
Yes. He just chooses to do it in a way that, doesn't necessarily, I hate to say, like, because I don't want to disparage people who don't like him, because I think that's still a valid opinion, where, like, if you just don't like things that are extremely art house, or you think that maybe it's a little bit, like, I could totally see the argument that, like, he's, like, up his own ass with, like, a very overindulgent kind of thing. I could totally see that. Personally, I don't agree with it, but
same.
I could definitely see people taking, it's the same criticism that was leveled at, like, BioShock Infinite, which is obviously a much simpler story, but I love it, and I don't think it's up its own ass, but I can totally see how people would get that impression, and I can see that from Lynch detractors as well, or possibly it's just people who have had Twin Peaks and the like hyped, like, overhyped for them.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's, oh my god, it's so weird, and then you watch it and you're kind of like, yeah, it's artsy, but and it is weird. I think we're, but it's also, if it's been, which was part of Lee and my hesitance to start watching it in the first place, was that, it is hyped as this very, very weird cultural touchstone. And if you don't if you don't like weirdness, or if you don't like things that are more concerned with the artistic value of a piece than the, like, straightforward plotting, which I wouldn't even argue that Lynch is not concerned with plotting, but there is something to be said about, like, he has a vibe he's communicating. He has oh gosh, I don't even really know how to put it into words, but
Lynch.
Yes, basically. Lynch. It's just like Lynchian being, like, as common of a phrase as, like, Lovecraftian. There's a reason for that, right? There's they're like definitions of a style.
Yeah.
That is just almost without adjective, so we give it this person's name who is that definitive of that style.
Yeah,
and Lynch is.
I think the only movie of his that is more universally accepted, or at least with the least amount of detractors, just because of its, and no pun intended, but the straightforward nature of it, is A Straight Story, and that's also partially because of how fucking wholesome that movie is too.
Interesting. I was gonna because I was trying to like guess what you were gonna say before you were gonna say it. I feel like you've mentioned Straight Story before, and
Yeah.
I've actually not seen it.
Oh, it's so good.
I would have kind of assumed you would have gone with maybe like Elephant Man.
Elephant Man is definitely up there. But like I know, like, if I remember correctly, like Roger Ebert has like famously disliked almost every single thing that Lynch has made, right?
Interesting.
But he loved Straight Story. Yeah, actually, The Straight Story is actually slightly better reviewed than Elephant Man on Rotten Tomatoes.
Interesting.
It has a 95%. It's also his only PG rated movie, if I'm not mistaken. Elephant Man might be PG. I don't know. I think it's R. I know Dune is. I think Dune is PG-13.
I want to say I watched it in college, so I'm not really sure what the rating is. I watched it in my Freak Lit class, which is a very fun class.
Yeah, like maybe we should watch A Straight Story at some point. It's
I'd be down.
It's based on a true story too of an elderly man. He's like in his 70s, and in the movie he's played by Richard Farnsworth. And his eyesight is bad, and he doesn't, like, most of his family doesn't necessarily live close by, and he receives like a letter that his older brother, who's like 80 some odd years old, just had a stroke. And he and his brother had a falling out and haven't spoken to each other in about a decade. And the guy becomes obsessed with the idea of burying the hatchet. The problem is he has no real means of getting there because his eyesight is too poor and he's too old to drive a car. So he bought a riding lawnmower and drove it across the state over the span of a month to reach his brother, just so he could make amends with him in the event the worst happens.
Huh.
And it is such a heartwarming, weird movie, but it's also completely fucking true.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was also produced by Disney.
Because why not?
Yeah, sure.
The riding mower had a maximum speed of about 5 miles per hour, and it was a 240-mile journey from Lawrence, Iowa to Mount Zion, Wisconsin.
Oh my god.
And it's
I feel like you could almost walk faster.
Probably. Well, I mean, also his legs aren't great. He's on a walker.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, it's about his journey across the state and who he meets and how he touches their lives and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a heartwarming thing.
We have so much to watch that we'll probably see it in like a year.
Yeah, we'll
get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
It's actually, speaking of how Lynch kind of reincorporates a lot of stuff into The Return, a lot of that heartwarming stuff that was in A Straight Story, I kind of felt echoes of with the Dougie Jones stuff, of just someone's journey.
Yeah.
And how they're still kind of able to have this impact on people's lives in such a positive and unique way, It's wild. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And
wait, guys, but what about the other zombies?
We don't even get any. There's the
fucking time. What about the zombies?
I already talked about the hobo zombies, but there's another group of zombies briefly.
Yeah, there's the ones in the police station. Oh, and Chad.
And the kid.
Touch on Chad.
Fuck Chad.
And and the sick kid in the car.
That Bobby sees, and the lady's screaming.
Ah! Ah!
Yeah.
Ah!
Yes.
And that drunk guy with his face fucked up, parroting everything that everybody's saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what was that all about?
I don't know. It was all about fuck you. It was nonsense. It was... I don't know. It was... It's about pissing Chad off. It's fuck Chad.
Yeah, fuck Chad.
This season had a surprising number of new, like, uniquely hateable characters too.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Audrey's son.
Audrey's son,
yes.
Fucking Chad,
Yep.
Mr. C.
Oh God, yes.
Jesus, like, he's wild. But fucking Chad, especially when he makes fun of Robert Forster's dead kid.
Oh yeah, God. Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah,
but he kind of gets his comeuppance, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he gets knocked the fuck out by I think the kid with the green glove.
Yeah,
green dishwashing glove.
Should we elaborate at all on the Hulk glove that punches Rape Sphere to hell?
No.
Do we need to elaborate further? I mean,
no, I don't think so.
that summarizes it pretty nicely.
Yeah, I mean, like
some knacker with a Hulk hand hits the Rape Sphere right into hell.
Yeah,
and then end. Then epilogue.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... Oh, and not to mention that entire thing where it's the big happy reunion, but it's like, Cooper's face is superimposed on everything, and he slow motion says, "We live inside a dream," and I guess a lot of people are thinking that maybe the entire series is someone's dream?
Oh yeah.
God, I hope not.
Yeah, I really hope not too. But
yeah.
I remember thinking at that moment that Cooper was still in the Black Lodge.
Yeah.
That was what that meant.
It could be.
Like, I mean, that's like pure, again, no evidence to it, but I remember being like, oh no, are they trying to imply that, like, part of him is still trapped, or, like, and I don't know. I don't have answers.
Nobody does. I don't even know if Lynch has answers.
Oh, another wholesome part of the finale, though, is that Cooper made Janie another Dougie.
Yes, that was super super wholesome. Where Cooper is just like, you've touched my lives, and you can tell that he's being like, he's genuine about it. Where he's like, he has great affection for Janie E and Sonny Jim, and he goes out of his way to make sure that there's another Tulpa who can be there for them and is not a cheating asshole. Seriously, yeah. I will not get over that. I mean, aside from the fact that cheating, why the fuck would you cheat on Naomi Watts? God damn it, man.
Yeah, it's foolish. Amateur mistake.
Like, Jesus.
Damn right.
Fuck. And also, we've kind of touched upon it a little bit, but can we talk about Kyle MacLachlan and how fucking incredible he is doing so many different...
Yeah, like essentially 3 different roles.
Yeah.
3 roles carrying the series. Like, not to discredit anyone else in the cast.
Oh, yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible work.
It's...
Yeah, I mean, he's very much the heart of the show, because the big question we were left with at the end was what happened to Cooper, right?
Yeah.
So he's kind of that through line of he's, one of the first things that you're kind of seeing, and yeah, just figuring out, this is essentially entirely the fallout of what happened to him. Right? Because Mr. C wouldn't have gotten out, and God, there's so much, and it all just like is intrinsically tied back to Laura, and wow.
Yeah, it's... God damn it, man. This entire podcast is just a stream of consciousness and incoherent ramblings of confused people. And
but a podcast about Twin Peaks can't go any other way.
Yeah,
that's true.
I'm glad.
We're
glad
actually
it's that
keeping
case.
it together quite nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Lee, can you make a version of the thumbnail with Dougie Jones with the coffee spilling out of his mouth and the tie on his head?
You know what, James? For you, I think I can make that work.
Oh, beautiful!
Oh,
thank you. I love it.
I felt very called out when Riddler Media was like, "Oh yeah, people are gonna assume that like the coffee's gonna wake him up."
Oh, I know.
That was the first thing I said.
That was the first thing you guys said, and I'm just sitting here giggling like, no, you fools. You don't know what I know.
Oh yeah, it was. I think both of us simultaneously were like,
"Yep." And then you were like that with the pie, even though it was like a few episodes later, and I was like, no, you should know there's no hope. It's Dougie. We get Cooper Dougie. Hope. No.
I wanted there to be hope.
And again, I feel like I'm the odd man out, but like again, but I've also had like 4 years to process and get
correct
and adjust and cope and deal with that. We have 16 episodes of Potato Cooper.
I mean, I was definitely a little annoyed when we were watching it, kind of being like, when is he coming back? When is he coming back? But at the same time, like, for my complaints, I can't really see it going any other way. Like, a lot of times we spend time kind of not really script doctoring so much, but, we'll kind of think of like alternate scenarios or like armchair if we were writing this or whatever. But honestly, like bringing Cooper back earlier, would have put the finale in motion too quickly, I think.
Yeah.
And we would have lost a lot of the wholesome stuff that came toward the end.
Yeah.
Of his sort of journey. So yeah, kind of despite the fact that I did find it a little annoying in the moment, I think it was there was a good reason for it.
Yeah.
Less so, I think the musical stuff.
Sure.
It was always kind of sometimes when it was over credits, it was like, okay, because it gave us a little bit of a pause between episodes to kind of like talk about what we just seen, and because we would watch these in like 2 or 3 episode chunks usually. So it was kind of like a musical interlude sometimes, which was nice, but I think if I had been watching this live, I probably would have just turned it off at the musical guests, which we ended up definitely doing once.
Oh yes, we did.
Well, I mean, it was fucking just you and I, and I don't think we need to hear that anymore.
Ever again.
Ever again.
What's that? It's going to be the outro music for this episode?
a Goonbot rap version of...
Yes. There we go.
Oh my god, yes, have Goonbot read the lyrics to Only You.
But, I mean, we got a sick Nine Inch Nails performance.
We did.
And that was also, like, it was like, alright, yeah, David Lynch likes Nine Inch Nails. I can dig this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, God. Like... But yeah, no, especially because I think like a lot of the musical numbers, the songs were just not my taste. So that kind of also
that too. But I also feel just like thematically it kind of, or
it's weird.
Thematically is the wrong word.
It's definitely weird.
Yeah, it was weird, and it kind of felt like an SNL type, like a variety show type thing.
A little bit. It
was like,
it felt out of place almost.
Yeah, especially because sometimes we were seeing the characters in the bar listening to this stuff, and it was just like, I'm like, would Biker James be here listening to like some alt rock?
Some
sung by a bunch of flowery voiced like tweens or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Although we did there was a great scene with Audrey.
Yeah, there was.
In there.
There was.
Where they kind of faked us out with that, and then had it be Audrey's dance from the original Twin Peaks, like quote unquote Audrey's dance from the original Twin Peaks, which was
insane,
kind of wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to talk about.
Is there anything big we're missing?
I guess just an overall summary, really. I mean, there's a hope that there will be another season. If it ends this way, if this is the last of it, then it's the kind of ending that we've come to expect from Lynch. As much as some people would want closure, this is the kind of ending where if that's finished, I could just nod and go, yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Like honestly, like as much as I want a Twin Peaks season 4, partly because I'm a fan of Twin Peaks and partly because it's more David Lynch stuff. I think we got a lot of closure for the most part until David Lynch took a crowbar and basically broke everything with the finale. But if this is the end of Twin Peaks and we never get a season 4 or we never get another movie or whatever, I think I can say I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
Same. I totally agree with that.
Like, it's the opposite feeling that I had after watching the season 2 finale and Fire Walk with Me, where it's like, I love the season 2 finale, and I grew to like Fire Walk with Me, but it definitely felt very unsatisfying just because of how many open threads there were, and just knowing that it wasn't their intention to end it that way.
Yes. And I feel like the open threads that we have at the end of The Return are more... I part of me wants to say optional, part of me wants to say intentional.
Yeah.
I think a combination of the two, where, like, yes, we could still follow this through line of, what's happening to this character or that character, or, where actually are Cooper and not Laura. We could follow those through lines through, or we could not, and it still feels finished. It still feels like an interesting note to land on.
Yes.
Right? Whereas the, as powerful as that shot of Cooper, bleeding and laughing as, Bob looks back from the reflection in the mirror, as powerful and cool as that shot is, it's like that's the end of the penultimate episode, right? And then the finale is, wrapping up or something like that. Or like it's the end of the season, and then you have a third season where it's resolving all of that stuff. Yeah.
Or even to that matter too, as powerful as that final shot is of Fire Walk with Me, of Cheryl Lee crying and laughing as she's like trapped in the Black Lodge. Well, that's a satisfying end to the movie. It wasn't necessarily a satisfying end to the story of Twin Peaks, just because of the fact that, it's a prequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they could leave it here, but I would certainly, so long as David Lynch wants to do it, I would be down with season 4 of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, he is I think one of the only directors where I would have faith in him whatever he decides to do.
Yeah.
Just because it seems like, one, he's established enough, and he's got a good sense of his own material that I feel like he would know when to stop, like he'd know when to not milk that franchise anymore.
Yeah.
Which, will kind of tie into the series we're going to talk about next. I think next podcast.
You mean flute fingering?
I don't necessarily want to spoil it if you guys don't, and I'll leave it up to Lee since it's his.
Yeah, I'll leave it to Lee.
I was gonna drop a hinterino at the end of the episode.
Fair enough.
We're getting pretty close, so
yeah.
I'll gear up for it.
Give some final thoughts?
So what I wanted to end on here that I thought would be fun is favorite character, favorite moment.
I want to add to that.
Ooh.
It can't be Cooper because I think we'd all say Cooper.
Oh, favorite character, favorite.
Yeah, favorite character, favorite moment. I'll go first because I posed the question, so I've had my time to chew on it already.
Yeah.
As much of the living meme as I am in this regard, I do have to give it based on just the continuing strength of the character, the longevity, and the commitment to his duty. It's definitely Hawk. Hawk is the man.
Hell yeah.
Hawk was a strong character in the original series, and he kind of started out as like the back pocket meme favorite for me, of like, yeah, of course I'm going to be into like the mystical, spooky bullshit Native American guy. And then he just legitimately rises to the occasion in return, rising up to be he's the right hand of the sheriff now. He takes care of so much business.
Really
and now he's regarded as like the expert in Twin Peaks on all the spooky bullshit going on because the new sheriff hasn't been exposed to it.
Yeah.
So Hawk is now the expert. It's not about the bunny.
It's not about the bunny.
Favorite moment is a 4-word sentence. I am the FBI.
Yeah. It's a good one. Kat, go next.
Okay. All right. I think I might throw it completely out of left field here.
Audrey's husband.
Yeah, Audrey's husband.
I'm so 100%. Sleepy.
No, and I also think I want to split my answer between my favorite returning character and my favorite new character. If that's okay.
That's fair.
Just because I feel like my automatic like draw is to the returning characters, just because we've known them longer and we've seen more growth with them. But I do want to give credit to where credit's due for the new folks. I'm gonna say that my favorite returning character is probably Bobby.
Yeah,
great choice.
It's a real good choice.
Absolutely, like if you had asked me like 2 months ago before we started the return, what do you think about Bobby? I would have been like, fuck you, don't ask me about Bobby. Fuck Bobby.
Do you know how much I was howling internally every single time you and Lee vented about how much you hated Bobby while watching the first 2 seasons and the original podcast?
He's awful, and he has the best redemption story and just becomes like a really competent, good dude, and you're like,
yeah,
new Bobby, who's this?
Yeah.
So I kudos to him. I think he's just a really good actor where he could play both an absolute fucking prick teenager and like, a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Having grown out of being an absolute fucking prick teenager. And then my favorite new characters, I think I'm gonna say probably one of the 2 assassins, either which name I won't remember.
Tim Roth and Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Oh my goodness!
No, not those guys. Not the Quentin Tarantino ones. the mobsters.
God, we didn't even talk about fucking whatever.
We didn't talk about them.
There's a Tarantino riff with Tim Roth and Jennifer Jason Leigh.
It's hilarious.
It's great.
I mean, they were great, but they did feel more like a riff on Tarantino than
absolutely.
Yeah. God, but the 2 mobsters, I think.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know which one edges the other out because they both have such good moments.
They do.
I might say Rob Knepper's character just because he has that really weird bit with Candy. I want to say her name is.
With the remote.
Yeah, you can. I'll say you can take them as an action figure 2-pack. You can
as a duo.
You can pull the Dave Chappelle racial draft and draft the whole Wu-Tang Clan. Like you can have it.
Cool. Okay. So I think those are my picks. And then my favorite moment, which I've already brought up before, was Lucy and Andy picking a chair color.
Oh, it's so simple but so adorable.
It's so sweet.
It's so
wholesome.
sweet and perfectly illustrates their relationship. Just to like quickly summarize, they're having an argument because they're trying to pick the color of the chair that they want to buy. Both of them are completely adamant about their choice, and they're arguing back and forth, and they're so like bitterly entrenched in it. And then Lucy kind of pulls this like pulls out this really good argument to get it on her side, and Andy, being the super sweet guy he is, ends up like acquiescing to her request, and he's just like, you know what, yeah, you pick your color, you're right, like basically like I support this, I support you. And she goes back to her desk and just kind of like sits over the webpage for a second and then picks Andy's color and buys it, and I'm just like,
it's so sweet.
Oh, I love them.
They're perfect.
Great choice.
Lee, who would be your favorite new character?
Yeah.
Audrey's husband.
Okay.
No, favorite new character. God, I mean, just what an all-star cast.
It's tough.
My favorite to hate is Audrey's son.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because I think the actor does such a splendid job of being just this absolute remorseless prick.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I definitely have to give Lynch that I really admire about his writing is he doesn't mind making characters who are just unashamedly evil.
Yes.
There's a lot of talk these days about, having characters have shades of gray, always have like understandable sides to your villains. And I get that from a certain writing perspective, but sometimes I just want a dude in a black cloak laughing maniacally for the sake of being evil.
Exactly.
And this fucking kid is just the biggest piece of shit.
Sometimes he kills a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On camera.
Oh God,
like,
yeah, fuck.
Ooh.
Yeah. The whole hit and run thing. Yeah, sometimes I just want again to reference another Lynch work. Sometimes I just want a villain as hateable as Dennis Hopper in Blue Velvet.
Oof.
Yeah,
because he's so fucking hateable, and it's like,
dude, villains you love to hate are absolutely
yeah,
like it's great. It's such a catharsis because I won't sidestep for too long for this, but you like to see that comeuppance hit these people. Because so often in real life, people wrong you and then just kind of get away with it, or evil people in the world get away with things. And in movies, you have complete control where the absolute monstrous prick will, almost always get what's coming to them at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I almost talked myself into picking him the more I thought about it there.
Mm-hmm.
But Janie E might be my choice.
Janie is a real good choice.
Mm-hmm. She's great.
She's fantastic. I think for me, I'll start with favorite new character.
Mm-hmm.
Topa Diane.
Oh.
Okay.
Because she is such a fucking sasspot throughout the entire time of just like, fuck you, Gordon, fuck you, Albert, etc., etc., etc. But then she gives that incredibly haunting monologue about the last time real Diane saw quote-unquote Cooper.
Yeah.
And that performance is so fucking strong. And it's Laura Dern too. Like she's fantastic, I think. And on that note too, my favorite probable returning character is Miguel Ferrer's Albert Rosenfeld, because
I had a feeling
he's he's such a snarky dick, but he also feels a little more matured than in the original one. Like, he's still hot-headed, he's still an asshole, but you get to see a little more nuance to him. Yeah. And you get to see him kind of like on this buddy cop thing with Gordon Cole. Like, you didn't really get a lot of like he had some great scene stealing moments in the original run, and he was a great character in the original run, but he was mostly there for, like, you know, showing up on a scene and giving exposition about forensics evidence, as opposed to like being part of the central narrative and the actual, like, investigative process and everything like that. Yeah, so that would probably be my favorite returning character.
I dig it.
Favorite scene. God, this is like the fucking hardest one. Honestly, I think the Gotta Light sequence, specifically when it's the couple pulled on the highway.
Yes.
Because it's so, especially with the couple screamings being like distorted and warbly and it's so genuinely horrifying. And at this point, we have no idea what the fuck these things are.
Yeah, it's the first moment where you actually are watching what's happening and go, okay, there's zombies.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's so...
Here we are.
It's so strange and weird, and like the question itself is not necessarily horrifying, but like the way he delivers the line and the way he like, god damn it, like the way Lynch messes with the audio and everything like that, it's just
yeah, the vocal tone on the lead ghoul is fucking great.
Oh god, it's so good.
It
kind of reminds me of I don't know if you guys have seen Pontypool.
Yes,
I have.
Yes,
especially him going on the radio to deliver his missive to the town.
Yeah,
really had some Pontypool vibes for me.
Yes,
I could feel that.
That's another like movie with strong audio design.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Pontypool's fucking great.
Yeah, probably some Lynch inspiration there. I would
see it.
I would gather.
I think a runner up scene would maybe be the scene with Matthew Lillard breaking down in the interrogation room.
That's a good one too.
Because he's just so confused and scared. Oh god,
that's a really good one.
Like it's so hard.
I was going to say that I definitely feel you on the moment from that fucking episode. And the reason I didn't pick anything from there was just because I don't feel like I could actually narrow it down. Kudos to you for doing so.
It's fair.
If you tried to call episode 8, I would have just said bullshit. Pick again. You don't get to just pick episode 8.
Yeah, no. That scene is also, it's just so fucking horrifying. Oh, and you know what? Also, since you mentioned it too, another runner-up would have been the scene where the kid gets hit by a car. And how gut-wrenching it is, and how understated Harry Dean Stanton's performance is during that scene, and how he just tries to console that grieving mother, you know. God.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. Grief I feel like is it's hard to do right. I think I've talked before about how I feel like Ari Aster's directing hits grief, like, you know, Hereditary, Midsommar.
Yeah.
I think he can capture grief really well. But a lot of times it can come off as very overly theatrical, or, you know, over dramatic, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that was a moment that like demanded that kind of performance, and wow, just yeah, that's definitely a moment, because it's also, you know, in film and TV, you don't really just show a kid getting killed. There has to be a really good reason for it, and there's a good reason for it here.
It's very much an unwritten rule ever since. Actually, from what my dad told me, because he went to AFI and he did all this film study shit. I mean, he could have been kind of talking out of his ass a little bit, but I've heard a few other people say it as well. The chief reason why it's such an unwritten rule is because of John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In what regard?
There's a scene where have you seen the movie?
Yes.
The scene where the little girl gets shot was just at the time so blunt and violent that it kind of really shocked a lot of people and caused, like, I mean, it wasn't the first time a kid got killed on screen. You know, Jaws famously, the shark eating the kid, and it certainly wasn't the last. But from what I've heard, just the raw bluntness of that shot.
I didn't know that's where it was from, where that rule kind of stemmed from, but I had always heard that, like, there's kind of no quicker way to turn your audience off than to needlessly kill a kid or a dog on camera.
Yeah, well, I mean, it isn't even so much that it turned the audience off, per se, or, like, turned them against the movie. It was more like Hollywood was just more...
That's the way I've heard it phrased.
Yeah, in this, it was more Hollywood just was like, yeah, let's not do this again. And for the most part, even in, like, R-rated movies, despite the terror that you can put a child through, like, you never really saw a kid get killed. Like, even spoilers for Halloween, the 2018 film, like, my sister's a huge Halloween fan, and one of her things has always been, like, Michael doesn't kill kids, even though, like, there's a scene where, like, the entirety of, like, 4 and 5 is him chasing his 10-year-old niece, and the whole plot of 6 is him trying to kill a baby, but, like, he doesn't succeed or whatever, but, like, he never really killed a kid until Halloween 2018, when he fucking brutally murders that kid in the car.
It happens very rarely, and I think certain elements need to be in place if that's where your screenplay is going to go.
Yeah.
Like, I think a film that handled it beautifully is In Bruges.
Oh God, yeah.
Yes.
In Bruges handles that topic very tactfully, because the entire movie is suffering the consequences of what happened.
Yeah.
The entire fragile emotional state of your lead character is because he's spending the entire film contemplating killing himself because he killed a child.
Yeah.
I mean, the first Last of Us does a great job of that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would agree with you though, Kat, that, like, it is, I mean, it definitely is a way to turn the audience off, but at least in, like, Assault on Precinct 13, I don't think it turned the audience off. But
yeah, I don't know if like, I could easily see it being maybe like an old school audience type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I mean, certainly I've seen a lot of horror movies that, kids die on camera.
Yeah.
And it's it's played for drama or grief or horror, so, and it's never turned me off for it, because I understand it's a movie.
Yeah, I think it also just depends on the execution, kind of like, a dog or a pet getting killed.
Yes. Yeah, because there are definitely horror movies that will kill dogs or animals where you feel nothing, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh yeah, The Conjuring, right? Is a good example. The first one.
Yeah.
Where the dog gets killed very quickly to kind of establish, like, oh, this house is fucked.
Yeah. And then there's instances where they kill a dog and it just or a cat, and it just, the audience is completely lost because it just feels cheap and
Yes. Yeah, like, I mean, a really good example of that would be I was watching, I want to say The Collector? Or The Collection?
Yes. Yeah, no, I just watched The Collector. Yeah.
Do you know the scene I'm talking about then?
I'm pretty sure.
Where they kill the cat?
I'm pretty sure. I'm also going to level with you. I skipped out on the last 30 minutes of it because I really didn't like it.
Yeah, I actually ended up bailing on the movie after this part, but yeah, it's a very like torture porn heavy.
Yes, movie. The room with like the sticky acid.
The room with the sticky acid, and the cat gets caught in it and is yowling, and the guy who is in the room trying to hide from the killer is like trying to get the cat to shut up.
Yes.
And he manages to like get it out of the sticky goo and like put it on the windowsill, but the window is jerry-rigged to
with a guillotine or some shit. Yeah,
and it just cuts the cat in half, and I was like, cool.
And you just go like, what?
Yeah. Oh, and also Shape of Water lost me when they killed the cat.
We need more of killing the cat and then people laugh like the Boondock Saints.
I was gonna say Reanimator, which
Reanimator's very much played for laughs. I have a Cat Dead Details Later shirt. I love that scene.
That scene is great, and it's so sad.
To tango, it has a broken back.
It's so sad, but because it's this comical puppet, I just can't help but laugh.
It's just Jeffrey Combs fucking like throwing it over his back.
Yeah, it's Jesus.
So good. But yeah, it is Shape of Water, right? The one with the fish man.
Yep.
Yeah. I was already mildly against the movie because of how rapey it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then that scene was like, I'm turning it off. Like, because it was, it was just, I don't know how it won. It won Best Picture, right?
Yep.
I think so, yeah.
It sure did.
I'm just like, no, not at all.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it. I don't even remember what else came out that year. Usually, like, 9 times out of 10 for Best Picture stuff, it's mostly looks like shit I have, like, minimal to no interest in. And kind of
for Parasite.
Parasite
was amazing.
Fucking phenomenal. And I was amazed it was nominated for Best Picture, and I was so happy that it was. And I was so happy that it won.
Yes. Actually, it's so funny because I was just watching a breakdown of like apparently when Parasite won, there were YouTubers or people on Twitter who were mad about it because it was a foreign film.
Yeah.
And you're just like, excuse me?
Yeah, it's...
You guys know that, like, American films win at foreign festivals all the fucking time, right?
Yeah, it was a whole stupid ordeal of, I can't, it's nominated for Best Foreign Film. Why can it win Best Picture? Well, it's the same way something can win Best Animated Film and win Best Picture, if that ever were to happen. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, The Lion King got nominated.
Yep. I think Beauty and the Beast got nominated too.
And that was, I think, before they had an animated film category.
Yeah, I believe.
Let's go figure. They're great fucking films.
Yeah, right?
I believe the running joke was that the Academy introduced Best Animated Film as a category, just so they would have an excuse to not nominate another animated film for Best Picture. That was the running joke. And then Up came out, and they were like, well, I guess we have to fucking nominate it.
I guess we have to. Because we're not getting through award season without nominating Up.
Yeah. They already had a huge backlash for snubbing WALL-E. And
good.
I remember that.
Yeah. That was so much shit got snubbed that year.
The day that an animated picture wins Best Picture is the day I die happy.
Yeah.
I love animation, and I want it to be as well regarded as I regard it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a couple of movies just as recently as the past couple of decades that might have had a shot. Spirited Away could have done it.
Spirited Away could have done it.
Yes, it could have.
Your name probably could have at least gotten nominated, I think, if it got a little more recognition.
There's a lot of really amazing
Into the Spider-Verse, of course, too. Like, holy shit.
I would say maybe like Paprika or some of those other, like, I mean, Paprika is basically Inception.
Yeah.
So, Jesus.
And
also, we're getting a little away from Twin Peaks.
We are. We're winding down.
Or are we?
Or are we?
I would also say if maybe it had a lot more attention and anime was bigger at the time, Akira probably could have been nominated.
Oh yes, for sure. For sure.
But yeah, I guess let's say our goodbyes. We are hitting the 2-hour mark about now.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's the perfect length for our podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, final thoughts. I would say to anyone listening who has not spent a little time getting to know the series, give Twin Peaks a shot. It is it's a journey. It is a combination of everything that you've heard it is and nothing like what you've heard it is.
Yeah.
And it will leave you both confused and satisfied
and aroused.
Yeah.
And a little bit
aroused.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely, people definitely oversell it, and also people definitely undersell it.
Mm-hmm. I hope we're selling it just right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've only talked about it for a combined 5 hours now.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But guys, did we talk about the zombies?
So anyway, folks.
Good night, everybody. No, yeah. Yeah, give Twin Peaks a shot. And like, if you're one of the people like me and you want to introduce the people, do it. It's a lot of fun, especially like, seeing somebody else's reaction who's never experienced it before.
Yes.
And if you're somebody like Kat or Lee and you have that one friend who won't shut the fuck up about Twin Peaks, realize there's a reason why. And I understand your apprehension to not want to see it because they won't shut the fuck up about it. But maybe give it a chance one day. Definitely skip every single scene that James is in season 2.
Yes.
Yeah. Folks, listen. If I can get over myself enough to play Resident Evil 4, you all can watch a few episodes of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
There you go.
Why don't you two remind the fine people out there who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah. So the Attack Cat, gonna be haven't really streamed in a while, but gonna be probably changing that sooner or later. Yeah. I agree with everything that these two have said. Twin Peaks is definitely worth the watch. Don't let the hype psych you out. Just go in. It's a great experience, especially if you're into more surreal, artistic, just auteur kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
James?
I'm Saber0307 on Twitch. I stream almost every day. We got some fun stuff.
You're a good boy.
I got some fun stuff. I'm so tired. I need my coat.
I'm so tired.
I'm so tired.
James.
I stream fairly regularly, sometimes with Kat and Lee in Phasmo or other shenanigans. Yeah, and I got a lot of fun stuff planned for the channel. Yeah.
Beautiful. And once again, I'm Lee Alder, the Valley Jester. You can catch my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/ValleyJester, or you can check out my website, leealdercreative.com. Currently, we're doing a deep dive down the rabbit hole of a Kingdom Hearts Nostalgia Fest. Currently still playing through the first one, and then we're going to jump right into Chain of Memories. And in the downtime, we're also doing Final Fantasy XIV, working towards endgame content. And so, I guess as a little stinger for everybody, which we kind of teased, Twin Peaks was James's gift to Kat and I, and Kat delightfully returned the favor with Erased. And we just finished rewatching the materials that I selected for the next podcast topic, and it will be sort of a combination, how to put it? We're gonna do a little bit of like an original sequel showdown when Alien meets aliens in the arena.
Yeah.
Look, Lee, I want to talk
aliens
Lee, I don't mean to burst your bubble, but I want to talk about the bonus situation.
We need to discuss the bonus situation. Aliens is one of my 3 favorite films of all time, and it's what I call my screenplay movie. If I, gun to my head, had to choose a script that I think I could write down 99 to 100% of, it would be that one. So that should be a fun little topic next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good. All right. Yeah, I guess we'll see you next time with Alien and Aliens.
Hell yeah.
Good night, everybody. And also,
Light.
Hello. Get fucked. All right.
Guys, do you feel like we did part of this before?
Deja vu.
I don't know, man.
I don't know the rest of the lyrics to that song, Lee.
God, if you think about it. So the first episode that we did was season 1, 2, and Fire Walk with Me, and now this one. That's a fucking combined 5 hours of talking about Twin Peaks.
Well, to be fair, we on the first episode we did also talk about Snyder Cut and
that's
Kong
fair.
versus Zella. But half the podcast was still dedicated to Twin Peaks. It was a 3-hour podcast, and an hour and a half of it was Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Damn. I mean, we got a lot to say about this show.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
This one felt really good, guys. This was it felt like we flowed really well together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we had to just keep like